So welcome, Dineke, to this.
Thank you. Thank you, Hans-Peter. And thank
Sorry, my
you.
technique took off for a minute. So welcome, Dineke. I give you the stage, and I welcome Dineke in this way that uh, in the communication with her, I felt so much eagerness and love for a new world, which she started, what I understood, just around in her neighborhood. But what I experienced is, um, yeah, how can you say, desire somehow to support herself and others to discover her surroundings a bit different than we probably normally do. So she is a bridge builder, in my opinion. So Dineke, you might start telling us where you come from, why you got moved to do what you did, because that wasn't what the outcome is, I believe, wasn't your purpose, but it got an own dynamic.
Yes. Thank you, Hans-Peter. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you, Marcus, for introducing us. Yeah. All right. I prepared something, but I decided this morning I was just going to talk. So if there's something that you don't understand or you need the translation in German, please let us know. I understand German. It's just that my language is not fluent enough in German to talk about the things that I like to talk about. So this is why I speak in English. I grew up in the north of Holland, just to start with a little bit of ground. I used to go outside a lot, and I found peace and quiet in the meadows there. It's very flat in the meadows there, and I was just talking to nature basically, and this is where my surroundings is. And then, of course, my family was very different, and I just had to sort of understand the world as it was perceived. And actually, this is part of my journey in life. So I get really happy when I'm in a natural surrounding. A lot of my work, I'm making exhibitions, and I was traveling and at places, especially the landscape was very inspiring for me to do different projects as an exhibition together with the people who were living there. And I was meeting a lot of people just, as you go along. And these resulted in, different events. And that is really what moves me. So the landscape itself and nature moves me immediately, and it is sort of a sensing and a happiness that comes through me. Um, yeah, and that's basically it. That is what really inspires me. So the work, what I was doing, exhibitions, surveys, it was a lot about traveling, and like I did a lot of things in the Middle East and Iran and connected to Afghanistan and Egypt, and all these places where I went, I could immediately feel the landscape, and it was part of the beingness, so to say, and it was part of a soul. It was a soul that was alive within the people, within the context of places where we were, and I did not have to look for it. And in the Netherlands, I feel I have to look for it. So this was very inspiring too. And when I was studying art history. I wanted to do it a little bit different. So it's called a free doctorate. And one of my final papers is the same as in Germany. You do a research project, and I was invited to do an exhibition which was called Dreaming of Paradise. And I was the one who was asked to do paradise symbolism. So it basically sort of invited me already in, okay, how do we feel about life, and all these different objects of the exhibition sort of opened up a whole new world to Central Asia, but also stories of creation. Where do we come from and where are we going to? So this whole realm of understanding and the different people and different ways of living on different locations was very interesting to me. Even as a child, I was just looking around. So it sort of invited me to be creative and have innovative projects together with other people, which were sort of, collaborations that, evolved without thinking about it a lot. And excuse me. And then 10 years ago, I had an accident, and I could not move anymore. I had to stay in bed for 2 years and slowly started walking again. But also my life of traveling and making beautiful things ended. So I was looking around and thinking, what can I do here? And I wanted to leave Amsterdam because that was better for my health. And I had ideas when I was looking around of making exhibitions again, collaborations. I was just looking forward to that. And then I swapped my house to a larger one, so at least I could work at home. So this is how I got into the house where I live now, which is a little bit larger than the previous one, and it has a beautiful garden. And this garden and the relationship with nature was, the core line, the relationship of man with nature in art, or as we live, is a constant red thread, as we call it. So now I was making everything very small because I was living in a house and a garden, and that was my surrounding. So I wanted to make that garden as beautiful as possible. But I was looking again at the landscape because, of course, Amsterdam is in what we call a delta. There's water everywhere. And of all the places, one of the universities described it also as one of the places where so many different kinds of landscapes are within a relatively small surface. So I was looking at the landscape and I was thinking of this house as a house being built on a landscape. So this is built on landscape. I was feeling the waterways under my feet, actually, really ancient waterways. And then everything was sort of built on. And then I was fitting into the garden and I was thinking like, wow, that doesn't feel so healthy. And I was walking through the park in the early mornings, very quiet moments. And I felt, the nature coming alive again and inviting actually to, perceive the world as, in a very small area where I live. And I felt very inspired. And one day I was walking through the neighborhood and there was a little green hub and two people were sitting there. And I was walking in and they showed me 2 pages of A4 with all kinds of ideas of people with their names, telephone numbers, and ideas of what they would like to do in the neighborhood. And it was all about nature and about greening this area. So I asked them, can we look at it in a different way? If we bring this all together from transitions, from energy points, um, um, and we are all connected because we live in the same area, and we look from it from above, then we can combine all these different ideas, maybe within a vision for how we feel our neighborhood may look like in the future. And this neighborhood was a forgotten neighborhood, they said. Nothing was ever done. People were a little bit anxious to get to know each other, and I was just asking around, and together with these 2 people, this project sort of started. We were asking the people who are already active in the neighborhood, how do you want to live and how do you see the future? how can we be, and this is 2017, so the Paris Agreement was signed. We had the idea that if we talk about nature, then at least there's no politics, because everybody loves nature and we are nature. So, there's no harm done there. So people started telling their dreams and how they would look forward to see this and this and this. And I got in contact with an engineer, a German engineer. She studied in Kassel. And she was writing a book, or had been writing a book, about resilient cities. And she was actually, as we in our bodies perceive energies, she was sort of translating these energies that we are perceiving in our bodies as part of a circular city, a resilient city, and actually a city for the future already, and ecological biodiversity, etc., etc. So slowly, everything started to move. Everybody was so incredibly grateful that somebody was asking them how you would like to see it, and how can we be guardians also for the next generations. So this is how this project came into being, and it was successful, like almost immediately. We made a little booklet for the area. We had a design meeting, a workshop with everybody, inviting all their dreams and putting together the ideas, and as an integral project. But it was also integrative in the sense that we were sort of being invited in ourselves, in our hearts, and feeling at home, not necessarily home, but home in ourselves. So this collaboration was spreading very quickly. And this is actually, I think, why I was invited, because I also saw the documentary on Vindhoorn. And this is a city and nobody knew each other. So it was quite amazing what was happening. And I think this is maybe the time to ask if a translation is needed somewhere. Does anyone need a
Braucht jemand
translation?
Übersetzung?
No? Is it okay? Is the speed
Ja,
okay that I'm
alles
saying?
gut, danke.
Alles gut? Gut.
Ja, ich
Okay.
verstehe auch das meiste. Den Inhalt verstehe ich gut, nicht jedes Wort.
Danke,
Good.
Maria.
Okay. So we had this booklet, and the city council, you have to understand, the city of Amsterdam is divided in different areas, basically north, south, east, west, and then we have the center. So these are the different areas, and this is west, Amsterdam West. And the city council officers were immediately enthusiastic, because we were actually solving something for them, because we laid the foundation for eco-governance, and it was about the gardens, the streets, the rooftops. We were connecting two parks on one side and the other, and basically this area was in between those parks. So we were turning the world around. We took nature as a starting point and the building as being on top, and then the reconnection with nature and with our true selves was sort of understood without mentioning it. So they were very enthusiastic, and we were saying, because the public space is owned by the government, and it's the government's job to take care of that and actually create a healthy city. So we were saying, okay, we can do all these things in the private sphere, within our gardens, in our houses. You can see all the connections with the energy, water, the soil. We can do that, rooftops, the front gardens, and more. But we would like you to collaborate with us on an equal basis. What can you do to support the bigger picture? I will show some images later. And they were saying yes. So they were helping us to create the play gardens. Now we had a say, we were invited to actually put our ideas forward and collaborate and co-create. playgrounds, different playgrounds. We were talking about the Ufer. The Ufer is the same in German. I don't know the English word. About planting there. I did some research with a few other people, scientists, about what plants can we plant here. So we are integrating this neighborhood within the landscape of Amsterdam, how it is evolving, because the landscape is evolving. And some of the city council officers were already interested, especially the ecologists, in rewilding the city. But we don't use the word rewilding because that's dangerous for them. So we're just talking about adding plants, changing the scenery really, and making it a more natural environment. Everybody who joined, because it was an open invitation and nobody had to do anything, you just joined, and if there was something you like to do, that was what you did. And some people stayed for just a few moments or a few projects, and others stayed longer. There was no pressure at all, because if there was one thing that was very obvious in this neighborhood, people were on pressure all the time. So we did not want to pressure people, but we elaborated the qualities of everybody, and we did not want to pressure on nature more. So we were trying to make a circle, in the sense that now nature was able to feed us instead of that we were putting it down. So it was an inclusive project. And inclusive means that it was for all ages, young, old, people with different backgrounds, in financially, economically, culturally, different ages. Everybody was included. There was no exception. Everybody was part of the whole. And that was basically the message that was sent out. And within a few weeks, months, we saw the elderly people all already, cycling a little bit faster than they did before. And it sort of lightened up the whole neighborhood. And the collaborations between the different groups started, and the different streets. So it became a little bit of a, what do you call it? A cocoon almost, where people, which was different than the other areas where you went into, and you could sort of sense a sort of love flow in the streets. And well, and then all the projects just happened. And one of the major achievements is a street that is being created, and I will show some images later. But it was truly that connection and reconnection with nature that was very vibrant. And it also, because we were a little bit early, that was very inspirational for the city council. And now most of the ideas, because in the beginning it was pretty tough to explain what we had in mind, there was a lot of resistance, but slowly but surely all these ideas are being adopted by the city council government. And of course, we're not on our own. There were many other green, so to say, projects within the city. That was a huge collaboration. So we were starting to work together, and they were all very different and a little bit old school. So I said, so okay, we live in the same city. There is so much green, like I think 35% of the city is nature or park. If we collaborate and we do it all from the same kind of vision for the future, then we don't have to compete. I mean, it's just, we can work together because we have the same collective ambition, and we have our own individual, own individuality, or own individual work and ways to do it. So that is basically what happened. One of the major things now is that the waterways are being purified. There are regulations for the air. So it's becoming a more and more healthy city than it was before. And yeah, what I like to end with is that we had these, big ideas, climate and everything, systemic change, system change, but to make them all very, very small and comprehensible in simple words so everybody can understand them, but also, that's it really, to make it understandable and concrete so we don't feel so powerless. That was one of the main things. We don't feel so powerless with everything going on. And then I described the project in, it's like every step counts. So it doesn't matter if you do something really big, if you do something really small, and that is within your capacity, then it already makes a difference. And I feel that is very true. So that was the bottom line of the communication. There are two things now. I can show you some images which I like to do about the project and what was going on. And the second thing is I was writing a text in December and I was not so concentrated, but I like the idea that we are all acupuncture points somewhere on the globe, making changes and allowing the energies to flow and support us, not just us, but also communities and our families, of course, and being little beacons of light. I lost track of my story. Oh yeah, the second thing is I was in the text that was sent out by Hans Peter. I was talking about mapping, because mapping and surveying is actually so important if you own a location. So sensing the ancient wisdom that is there, but also allowing, actually collaborating with nature. That is the basic thing. That is what we're trying to do here. And I did it at different locations. So I'm just asking, because the idea was maybe you have a map and then we can have a look at it. But now the time, it's already half an hour. I like to ask you whether you would like to do this mapping, or I shall show you some images of the project we've been doing. So who is for some images of the project? Yeah? Okay. And then, good. Then we go there. I try to share my screen. I'll do it through the website. We made a website. And of course, if there are questions, please, because otherwise I will talk on and on and on. Let me see. This is the website. You can see it now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the website of the City Council. This is urban ecology. So our project is now within that research scheme, or since a few years. I have to find the website now. It was there and then it's gone. This is the website. And so we made a few little, let's see the pages first. So here are all the projects and ideas or activities you can find. And you just click on them, and then there's more information behind that. So one of the major changes is a new street that is connecting different streets and is completely ecological. There we have different groups who are active, the birds and the bees and the butterflies and the bats, of course, gardening, the streets, The squares, play gardens. This is a little green hub. These are for the.
This
Sorry?
is the area you live.
Yeah.
Ah, good.
Yeah. And this is the gardens, this is designing, this is about mobility, these are the roof gardens, and this was the primary design for the neighborhood which we made. I will show you a little bit of a film so you can see the neighborhood as a whole. You get a little bit more geographical.
How many people live there?
There are 5,300 addresses.
Okay. Wow. And you started 2017?
Yeah, the first ideas came in the end of 2016, and in 2017 we made the booklet, and I was doing research first about the transitions, and then I was asking everybody by a survey what they would like to see in the neighborhood, and then we made a booklet.
Mm-hmm.
Because the issue of the booklet is actually, as you know, Amsterdam is just full of water. Our neighborhood is surrounded by water on 3 sides.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with water. They call them blue-green grids. The blue is the water and green is the plants. And actually, the whole simple idea is that we, of course, are interrelated to nature. So we need green, we need plants, animals to sustain ourselves and the water. So if we take care of that, then our lives are better, safer, happier if we create that. Just one moment, I'm looking for a little film. Yeah, it's here. So this was made in 2018 because we had to inform the city council.
Dineke, I don't have a sound. Is there a sound?
Nou, wat ik vooral belangrijk vind in de discussie rondom klimaatverandering is wat ik daar zelf als individu aan kan doen. Om dat op dit daaraan kunnen doen. De problemen zijn op dit moment.
So this is about, that everybody is really interested. What can I do? And we don't see anything moving. And so we like to start and do our own thing. And please, government, help us to do what we like to do.
Groot, maar het is zo abstract en zo niet te overzien. En dit vind ik, wat ik hier heel fijn aan vind, is dat.
So he's saying it's so big and it's so abstract. What is very nice about this project is that it's been made very small and tangible, so we can actually collaborate and do something together. And it's fun to do this together because it makes us all, happy people.
Ik het idee krijg als bewoner van dat ik zelf wel verandering kan doen. En dat is maar heel klein. Dat is, ik weet niet, het voelt alsof het dan. Het is maar misschien, het is maar een heel mini steentje, maar zo betrek je ook de burger bij dit hele grote, omvangrijke probleem wat klimaatverandering heet.
So this is just making this really big global issue very tiny in the street. This is.
En dat is heel prettig, want.
This is the area. Here you see the park. This is the neighborhood. There's the neighborhood, and there's another park on the right-hand side. So what we've been doing is the gardens, in the inner gardens, and then the rooftops. You see the red roofs, and there is a gray area inside, and those are rooftops. So, and then we did all kinds of things within the streets, making the streets greeners, and this is the Ufer. So the Ufer is being changed, and we collaborated with the ecologies about the planting and the greening, and basically it is still going on.
Best abstract en een beetje hopeloos voelen.
So this is how it was. Okay, I stop here for a moment, and maybe you have questions and that I can elaborate on with a image or something else.
Well, I'm still stunned that seems like it was a grassroots. So the people in the street, or some, or 4 or 5 people started it. Is this correct? How I see it? And then actually the city partner jumped on it. I mean,
Yeah.
to get that moved, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Let me see. Stop sharing the screen.
I don't know how the regulation are in Amsterdam, but I know that we have in the cities a lot of regulation, and how you build and what you do, and how much meter the next tree has to stand, and that you have to cut the tree.
It's terrible.
And so on.
And especially the Netherlands is known for its tremendous regulations on every square inch, so to say. Yeah, so there was so we're in after 2015, and we started in 2017, and there was already talking about integral working, and we have the Millennium Goals, etc., etc. But nobody knew how to do it, how to do that, and how to make all these things together and fit them in. So basically, I was invited to put everything I knew about people, about community arts, because part of the dynamic is community arts. How to put everything together so it would benefit all. So this is, in that sense, a grassroots organization that it has never been done before. Because I was looking for other ways, but I was never really satisfied, because I really wanted to really change us and them, right? It's not like here there's a garden. That's what the city council wanted. You know, there's a garden. Okay, they have one garden and they can one garden, but that's not what it's about. It's about this collaboration, and about integral inside our bodies and coming back to our own center, as much as we can then communicate from center to center to our neighbors and meet them as they are and not as we perceive them. And then a completely different communication starts. So relationships is at the center, at the core of it all. So it's a relationship to ourselves, to the others, to our environment, to nature, and basically to our beingness here on planet Earth. So why are we here, and what would we like? And that's where my little foundation in the gardens is about. What do I like? What is my specific gift or expertise that I can bring in to collaborate with people as a team towards something that is beyond ourselves. And I did not expect this at all, of course. I mean, it was in the air, and I was just sensing, and I was feeling that there was an invitation there in the air, and I just picked it up, and I did not know what would happen after that. So it was being in the moment constantly, and I was also looking that whatever we were doing, because it was very valuable. I mean, still, you know, there's a very sacred element there inside. because we basically revive the sacredcy of life in ourselves and others, right? I don't often talk about that. But I also wanted to protect our project, because there was a lot of interference as well, because we always had to do it differently. And I had to keep saying, no, this is the only way I can do it, and I can stand for what we are doing, and no other way is possible. And then at a certain point, and there was not a big no, it was just that the vibration, this love vibration, actually, it was an invitation for others also to think differently and to change their perspective. So what we were doing in our little neighborhood, they were doing on city council level, and they would do it on province level. And then everything comes together, and then we are basically doing something. We are collaborating on these different levels and changing, in this case, the wetlands of Amsterdam. So I had this bigger picture in mind, and I also checked where the EU was, because the EU is giving regulations to all the cities in Europe. So I was checking where the Green Deal was going, and the only thing I agreed with the EU was the biodiversity subject, which is to take care of our natural environments. So I was supported in that way, and then all these regulations came after. So I could also say to the city council officers who were sort of, trying to help us, you're on the right track. I know it's coming because that and that and that and that. So I was sort of supporting everybody along as well to make these connections and to be supportive of a new vision, so to say, and a new way of working. And that is, today regulations have changed and it's darker than it was before, but inside everything has changed within the city. So those are the foundation stones, and I completely trust this process because it's natural. It's so close to who we are. Okay,
I have thousands of questions,
right.
but I ask you, if you have any question, please open your mic and then start just. Well, I slip in with one question. Changing the surrounding. We have here close by in Freiburg, a green city was built, out of a old area where military was placed, and very beautiful, with the surrounding, with little creeks and so on and so on. But after 10 years, I don't see that the relationship between the people is better. We still have little areas where, let's put it very simple, the richer people and the more poor people and so on. So it's still not mixed. How is your experience in this way? Did the people also change? It's more relationship, more community, more sharing, more. Can you say something to that?
Yeah, we're sharing cars and we shared ideas. That was the main thing. So there are people who have less money. So people who were pioneers and had the money, they shared ideas about how to change the water pump, or we collectively bought water tons. So it was available for everyone. And so those who are not able to invest, those who are able to invest, I should say, those with money, and they were sharing information with the people who did not, and it was just open. So it wasn't like, we don't have money. No, we organized an evening, and it was all about, let's say the garden and about the tons and the water things, and then we were sharing that, and everybody was welcome. And there was no money involved. Nobody had to pay anything to go there. So we had all these different events, and was just rustling through the neighborhood. And the most beautiful thing is that people just stood up. I mean, architects, we have quite a few people from the government, like, I mean, the national government living in this neighborhood, and they were there, and they were equal to anyone, right? We don't treat them any special because it was, and I think this is maybe the energy, you know, you create a wholeness where everybody's welcome. I think that is it. But you have to sustain that as well. So I'm not saying, yeah, people pick it up or they don't, and it's free. That was very important, and that's why I think that is the essence of it all. We are, and we have a free choice. So we are always free to choose the way we want to live ourselves. There's no one that can tell you, like, you have to live ecologically or you have to do this. That's nonsense. You either do it or you don't. But what was in that heart and the core, it became a value that was shared within the neighborhood, and that value that carried on beyond that neighborhood as well. So it was like, right, we're doing something. We understand each other. We have the same goals together in a general line, and this is how we can speak up. And we all did, and just stand for what we believe in. And this is basically life enhancing energies. Stop destruction, just life, and allow us to live and support that life energy in the neighborhood. And that was the flame. The flame was the light and the creativity, and everyone who just wanted to join and put their expertise in. So
Dineke, could you give an example of how you transformed an obstacle into something creative, positive?
yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'm living near a square, so I'm on the outskirts of the neighborhood, living near a traffic square. There's a large green zone, and the idea was that there would be a parking lot. So basically, what there is, a few trees and some grass, that would change into a parking lot, and it would become a very busy place. So what we did as neighbors around this square, we became an organization, starting to talk with the government before they were actually changing the plans, and we called it a city square. So instead of a traffic square, it became, in our language, a city square. And then we had ideas and put our ideas forward before they were making decisions. But this is a strategic thing, of course. But it was very much about putting the emphasis on qualities instead of so when I first started, and before we made the booklet, it was only about the qualities, like seeing the parks, seeing the water, not as an obstacle, seeing it not as an obstacle, but as a quality, and taking, showing the city council, also saying, like, well, look here, we have this is what's already here in the neighborhood, and this is what we would like, and why can't we be what in Dutch is called a proeftuin? Why can't we be not an experiment? It's just a living lab. Let's call it a living lab, just to see how it works, and if it works, what we think. And there was room for that, for this experimentation, because of course we did not know where it would go. Yeah. Is that an answer to your question, Georg?
Yes. Another question, because for me it's stunning and a miracle, the openness of the mind of people in this neighborhood, and from the city council as well. So my my question is, you have in a city, you have different social qualities in different parts. There are poor parts, there are very rich parts, there are middle. So how would you describe the part you are living in and you are working with?
Yeah, in Amsterdam West, this is seen as a relatively rich part, but it's
Yeah.
not rich, right? I mean,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
the average of Amsterdam, this area,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Mm.
But I was living in South, which is across the square. South is is the most expensive area or most rich area.
Yeah. Mm.
And so rich and poor are sometimes relative, right? But this is a relatively white area, I should say, within
Mm.
this neighborhood,
Mm.
within this area. And it's not by choice, because I can actually, because that's very important to say, I can actually work a lot better with people with different backgrounds than with Dutch backgrounds, because they were so stubborn and sturdy. Because there is difference, of course, and people have their own minds and they have their own ideas. So it's just following the flow where this, say, love vibrational energy goes, and not focus on the door that is closed, but on where the energy flows. And so it keeps moving, and sometimes it takes a while, and all of a sudden that door opens. And in the beginning, the city council office was saying yes, and they were collaborating, and at a certain point, policy changed, and they could not say yes anymore. So that changed. The support of them changed, but then the ecologists were still working on the same issues. So it was on a higher level where we could still connect to. But we were very much in this vibrant area where a lot of things started to happen within the city. And we also stopped because at a certain point the policy changed. And of course, COVID did a lot because there was military influence in the city. So that was like everybody was just stunned. What's going on here? So people did not want to collaborate with the government anymore. They just all stepped out. And I agree with that, I should say. I did too. So we all have, I think, our common sense where sometimes we can do things and sometimes we can't. But the networks, of everything we've been doing is still there, and everybody's still doing the same things, but we don't do it in collaboration with the government anymore.
Mm.
So that is a here and now answer, I think. Is that okay, Georg? Yeah.
Yes, but you're still doing it in collaboration with the city council.
No, we only stay within our private spheres now.
Okay.
And the street is still being built. That is a collaboration with the city council, because otherwise, that has to do with democracy and all these other things. And on the outside of the streets, so there are still things going on. But basically, most things are done that we planned. The top 10 we made is done. Yeah.
So one last question. What's an example of the regulations which have changed and hindered to collaborate with the with the city council?
Well, the city council looked at nature as green, right? So trees or whatever, it was all green, and animals were green. That was just one big. And they became more specified about all the diversity that's in a neighborhood or in a city living here. Also thanks to the ecologists. And they changed regulations. For instance, you could cut trees within these inner gardens. A lot of people that were new buyers, I mean, of course, there was a lot of investors as well. They just made the gardens completely tiled. So they changed the regulations about cutting the trees. They really invited not to tile the gardens, and they made regulations about what we call uitbouw, ausbouw. Yeah, you can build into the garden. And in the beginning, because there's a lot of speculation, of course, with the grounds, and especially in Amsterdam, I guess in every city. So the larger your house is, the more it's worth. So they, instead of 4 meters in the beginning, it's now 1.5. So that will keep some of the green space within the inner gardens. So that changed, for instance. There were changes about parking. There were changes about electricity for cars. That's what I think of first, actually.
Well, thank you. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the main thing about this thinking the other way around, was that that it's about people and about the inhabitants of the city, and not about estates and money and all these other things. So that is the fire that is lit, and that's still there, and that's everywhere. And that our creative power is basically overcoming a lot of obstacles that we face today, and that is inspiring for the younger generations as well. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it at the beginning. What's your professional background, please?
Oh, I'm trained as an art historian, art and architecture historian.
Okay. Mhm.
Then I did a lot in the Middle East, which was not a subject anywhere. I'm trained as a healer, and I am trained as a coach and trainer. So basically it's so, I find within myself those certain subjects, and they all come together as well. So they came together within this project. So making exhibitions was already about collaboration and co-creation. So I came across Barbara Max Hubbard, who was talking about the wheel of co-creation, and I was thinking of, yeah, I've been co-creating most of my life, so this is someone who gives it a word, because I guess maybe you have the same. You do things and it doesn't have a word yet, because it's so natural to do it. So co-creation. And then I did one of the trainings, and this whole sort of vision of consciousness was there, and I felt so relieved, because there was finally sort of a bedding in which all these ideas about how life evolves, and how you see these energies and how collaborations are working, were very much invited for. Yeah.
Thank you. Is the person you mentioned at the beginning, this engineer from Karlsruhe, still lives in Karlsruhe? Is it a professor?
No, she studied in Kassel.
Okay.
And she lives in yeah, it's interesting. She regularly goes to Germany still. She lives in Delft, near the sea. And I can send a link, because it's beautiful what she wrote.
Well, thank you very much. That would be nice. Thanks.
Her name is Hiltrud Putz, and she made in the 90s already like one of the most ecological neighborhoods. And so the collaboration was, really beautiful, and I was very happy. And she's a gorgeous person. Let's see, I'm not so good with websites. I'll see if I can, yeah, like this. Oh. I have to look for their website now. And she's happy to go to Germany and support. And there was an idea about Kassel as well. So she was really interested in, because Kassel seems to be already ready for the next move. I don't know many places in Germany, but she was very happy. There it is, urban green blue grids. You will find everything about her ideas. And on the website I shared with you, you can maybe scroll a little bit. You will find more about the booklet and and it's yeah. On that website you also find loads of information about gardens.
Thank you very much. That's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
And how you can create beautiful gardens, and it's a world on its own almost. Yeah.
I will send the link with the replay to all of you. So if you didn't download it or didn't see it in the chat, then don't worry. You will get the information if you're interested in. And
So
for sure, I'm sure we stay in touch. At least I will, because I still have hundreds of questions, which probably will not have space for that right now. But it's totally inspiring. I have one question for now. Do you think this is a very specific situation where you are living, or do you think that this kind of grassroots move in whatever way is possible all over, out of your experience?
I think every place has its own timing. So in this case, I guess I just arrived at the right time, and I had time to really feel into it and not to disturb anything that was there, but just go with what was already there and yeah, bring it to another level, or whatever you like to say. I think every place, I think you can do it in any place, but I think if I follow my own heart, you can sort of sense certain places are ready and others are not. So because if you work in places that are not ready, then it will not move. So it is to open your heart and senses and think like, oh yeah, here's something is moving here. And then it can start. It is very different to say like, I want to organize something, or we have, so because this is the old way. It doesn't work, and it doesn't support us either. And then we get stuck, and then we get into a position of opposition, and then you lose the energy and you lose your faith in the things you're doing as well. So it is, I think that this is smooth walking around and feeling, and I think you can do it in any city, everywhere. But there are places, and we had to make the decision as well. We're just working in the beginning with the people that were inspired. There were a lot of people who wanted to join us, but we had to keep it small at first, to grow strong, and to really feel and get to know each other before the next move was available. And at the same time, it was moving naturally already. But we decided to go with the pioneering thought, and not to, because if you're pioneers and this is, because it's dragging you down, you go to this other level that you've already been to. We were all looking for something that was beyond which we could imagine. I think that is the evolving sort of nature, that is the inspiring, the life energy, really following the life energy that's there, because we're all growing, we're all evolving, everyone, we're doing this. It's never, at least for in my life, I can never do the same. It's there, it's locational, it becomes something that is right there and then, and at another location, it will take another shape because the location has different qualities. But the essence, and that is, I guess, maybe a good way to end, the essence is the same, that we're all following that life energy, that we're all the same as humans. We have the same structure, so to say, and and we are all enlightened and happy people when we can do the things that we feel inspired by. That's a little bit quirky, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
You touched my heart.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then there's the invitation, of course, that, if I can help, if you have something in mind or you feel that, let me know, because I really love to help everybody along if I can. And I will also say I can't, or maybe you can ask him or her, So I think we're all collaborating.
Well, Dineke, you're now part of the family here. So if there's any words from you guys, then please, that's the last chance for now.
Yeah, so I'll take that. Thank you, Dineke. That was just incredibly beautiful to see you and your work. And there was so much wisdom that you've shared with us and so much love. And I could really feel your flame. And well, I just wish that it manifests. I mean, I would say all over the planet, that maybe first somewhere close to. So thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me too, it was most beautiful. And you were saying in the beginning about Ireland, it was singing to you, and whatever you said was singing to me. So thank you so much. It was very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was wonderful to listen to your voice. You have a wonderful voice. And you inspired me a lot, but in a different field. As you were talking about what you've done in your neighborhood, I thought about my neighborhood and had the impression that that was not the field for me to go. Even if there is perhaps something necessary to do here, but that I should go in a very, very different field. I work as a teacher in a vocational school, and over the last years, we had a lot of rearrangements and reconstruction in the school area. And this area is still very new to the students, and they are not readily accustomed to it. And in the last few months, we had a lot of, or some occasions of vandalism, and someone put a fire in the toilet and so on. And I feel that the people have need to get at home at this place. And you sparked a lot of inspiration on me in what areas we maybe could go in the future. Thank you.
Did you know about wake-up schools?
No, I never heard that.
Okay, I'll write it down. Maybe that is helping the. It's a lot about peace and school, and getting this other energy flowing and recognition of each other within the schools. Sorry, it's a different subject, but it's interesting. Maybe.
Perhaps I'll look into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Glad you do.
Okay, I also want to say thank you, Dineke. Very inspiring, very uplifting, and really touches my soul, my heart. And to put it together, and for myself, it's we all need a home for our soul to be. And that's in nature, that's a nice neighborhood, wherever it is. But there's so many people homeless. And I don't mean the people living under a bridge.
No.
I think we have lost the home of our soul. And that's a very beautiful way to connect. with people and with ourselves. So thank you.
In our homes. Yeah. Thank you.
Ja, danke, Dineke. Du verstehst Deutsch?
Ja, ich verstehe Deutsch.
Dann
Bitte.
spreche ich lieber auf Deutsch.
Ja.
Ja, auch mich hast du sehr berührt und du hast das beschrieben, was ich suche. Und das berührt mich noch mehr, weil ich gar nicht wusste, dass es schon realisiert ist. Also diese Sozialform zu leben in der Natur mit Nachbarschaft, die eine ähnliche Ausrichtung hat wie ich und trotzdem eine große Diversität aufzeigt, das ist so mein Traum. Das hätte ich gerne in Deutschland. Und ja, schön, dass es das schon gibt. Das macht mir Mut, dass ich den Teil für mich auch noch finde. Dankeschön.
Vielen Dank. Wo wohnst du, Maria?
Ich wohne in Karlsruhe und das ist ja eine der,
Okay.
die einzige Smart City in Deutschland.
Ja.
Und entsprechend schwierig sind die Bedingungen hier auch. Also es gibt also so gleichgestellt mit Dubai und Brasilia. Ja, es ist nicht ganz einfach hier in der Form was durchzusetzen. Ich muss aber nicht in Karlsruhe bleiben.
Danke.
Detlef, wenn du was sagst, musst du dein Mikrofon anmachen. Wir hören dich nicht.
No, er ist muted.
Uns bitte.
Ach so.
Ich melde mich mal so lange. Ich habe meinen Dank in Chat geschrieben und ich werde jetzt gehen, aber ich danke ganz herzlich.
Vielen Dank, Gisela.
Und gute
Ja, ich glaube,
Besserung.
mein Mikrofon klappt jetzt, glaube ich. Könnt ihr mich hören?
Ja.
Ja.
Also ich bleibe auch mal der Einfachkeit halber in Deutsch. Also faszinierend und sehr berührend, was du initiiert hast und vor allem, wie du es initiiert hast. Also wunderbare Role Models für alle anderen Initiativen, die wir so individuell haben. Fasziniert hat mich auch dieses Symbol von der Akupunktur, dass es eben nicht darum geht, die Welt zu retten, sondern eben diesen persönlichen Akupunkturpunkt zu finden und zu setzen und dafür zu gehen. Wenn das Herz zu dir spricht und sagt, hey, jetzt ist der richtige Zeitpunkt, jetzt geht's da los. Und was mich eben auch fasziniert, ist deine Ansprache an jeden von uns und wahrscheinlich an alle, denen du begegnest, dass wir viel mehr Möglichkeiten haben, etwas zu bewegen auf kleinen Ebenen. Die vielen kleinen Dinge machen das Große und wir sind eingeladen, einfach die Möglichkeiten zu sehen und der Energie zu folgen und nicht ins Kämpfen zu gehen. Denn dort verlieren wir Energie und das ist das alte Modell und das ist ja vielleicht oder Gott sei Dank dabei, sich zu verabschieden. Also wirklich nochmal wunderbar und hat mich sehr berührt. Großes Geschenk, ein wunderbarer Gottesdienst. Danke.
Thank you.
Günther, wir hören dich nicht. Guck mal, wir hören dich leider nicht. Sein Mikrofon ist zwar an, aber wir hören ihn nicht. Sprich mal was. Jetzt hören wir was.
Könnt ihr mich jetzt hören?
Ja.
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 Ja, das ist ja schön. Ich war jetzt auch ganz begeistert von deinem Vortrag. Eine Frage habe ich noch, weil ich nicht genau weiß, ob ich es richtig verstanden habe. Manchmal gibt es ja so Situationen im Leben, wo die Zeit einfach reif ist für Dinge und dann funktionieren sie auch. Ich glaube, ich habe das so verstanden, dass du so ein bisschen gesagt hast, dass so der Spirit im Raum war, ja, so on the air, ja. Und dass du das so angenommen hast und dann umgesetzt hast, das finde ich wirklich ganz faszinierend. Also wirklich mal ein ganz großes Kompliment, das finde ich ganz wunderbar. Und jetzt zum Schluss kam mir noch so eine Idee oder so ein Gedanke, weil wir sehen gerade an anderer Stelle, wo es so Entwicklungsprozesse gibt, die gar nicht funktionieren. Hans-Peter weiß wahrscheinlich ganz gut, was ich meine. Und ich habe so gedacht, wenn man so etwas macht mit den Leuten und die Zusammenarbeit funktioniert, you make it your own places. Dann kannst du das nicht mehr zerstören. Wir sehen ja in der Gesellschaft überall Zerstörungswut und so. Wir hatten das jetzt gerade wieder Silvester gesehen. So, das sind meiner Meinung nach alles so Erscheinungsformen von Leuten, die das Gefühl haben, ihnen gehört nichts mehr. Das ist nicht mehr ihr eigenes. Und das meine ich jetzt nicht nur materiell im Äußeren. Das ist ja etwas, was reflektiert in unserer Seele und in unser tiefes Sein. Und deshalb funktionieren halt viele Dinge nicht. Und deshalb fand ich das jetzt wirklich ganz fantastisch, was du erzählt hast. Also wirklich auch ein ganz großes Kompliment von mir. Und mich hat das jetzt auch sehr, sehr angetan. Ich habe noch eine Menge Fragen, aber ich kann die noch gar nicht formulieren.
Na gut. Wir machen alles zusammen, ne? In essence, we do it together. Ja.
Wirklich toll.
Ja.
I have a hidden agenda, since I know your place a bit. Maybe we make a little conference and invite Dineke to your place, and then we have time to ask all the questions.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Dineke, what can I say? Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you that you joined this, in my opinion, most beautiful start. Because Dineke, I believe now you're hooked. And let's see how the next step is. For sure, I will stay in touch with you because I want to have answers on all my questions. And I have the feeling you know something which is really adding to all of us. I wish you a most beautiful day, all of you. And we might see us the next time. I haven't the date yet, with Kurti, which is a founder as well of Alea, actually. And we met him again, Andreas and myself. And it was very beautiful to have a guy who, as he described himself, dancing with the wood. So he works with wood and traveled with his fiancée through South and North America in a very interesting way. He did that. So have a great day.
Thank you.
And be nice to yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.